Have you ever felt an unexplainable emptiness? A silent pain that seems to live inside you? Often, we carry invisible wounds, marks left by those who were supposed to protect us. Carl Jung discovered something profound. The emotional wounds we inherit from our parents influence our choices, fears, and even our relationships. But what if I told you that it's possible to understand this pain and transform it? If you want to dive into this knowledge and begin your healing journey, subscribe to the channel now, because today we're going to uncover something powerful that could change your life forever. From the moment we are born, our parents or caregivers become our first references for love, security, and identity. But what happens when these figures, instead of strengthening us, leave invisible scars? Carl Jung said that we do not come into the world as blank slates. We inherit not only physical traits, but also emotions, beliefs, and behavioral patterns that shape our perception of life. If your parents were overly critical, you might struggle with crippling perfectionism. If they were emotionally distant, you may constantly seek validation from others. This happens because, from childhood, our minds register experiences as absolute truths without questioning whether they truly belong to us or were imposed by those who came before us. Many people go through life repeating patterns without realizing it. Have you ever noticed how certain fears and insecurities seem to have no clear origin, yet still control your actions? Why do some people feel an almost uncontrollable need to please others, while others are afraid of emotional intimacy? Many of these answers lie in the subliminal messages we received during childhood. A look of disapproval, a painful silence, a compliment that never came. These small interactions shape the foundation of our self-image. When we grow up in an environment where love feels conditional, we learn to mold our personalities to deserve it, even if it means abandoning our authenticity. Jung spoke about the collective unconscious, the idea that we carry not only our individual experiences but also an emotional legacy inherited from past generations. Our parents' fears can become our own. The dreams they abandoned may turn into an invisible pressure weighing on us. Think about how many times you felt you had to follow a specific path in life, not because you truly wanted to, but because it was the expectation placed on you by your family. Are your choices really yours? Or are you still trying to meet the expectations of someone who is no longer part of your life? The truth is that unless we bring these influences into consciousness, we will continue living on autopilot. Have you ever stopped to reflect on which of your beliefs genuinely belong to you? On which fears and limitations have been passed down without question? The good news is that simply becoming aware of this is already the first step toward transformation. When you start observing your patterns, questioning them and asking yourself, why am I like this? You set yourself on a path to liberation. This does not mean blaming your parents or dwelling in the past, but rather recognizing that certain aspects of your life can be redefined and rebuilt based on your truth, not theirs. The impact of our parents on our psychology is profound, but it does not have to be a life sentence. Self-awareness gives us the key to breaking free from this cycle and creating a new story. And what about you? Have you ever noticed a belief or behavior inherited from your family that you might be ready to let go of? Reflect on this and share your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes, putting our feelings into words is the first step toward healing. Within each of us lies a hidden part, a collection of feelings, impulses, and traumas that we have learned to suppress since childhood. Carl Jung called this the shadow. Everything that was once repressed, whether out of shame, fear, or rejection, does not disappear. It simply hides deep within our unconscious, influencing our choices without us realizing it. Have you ever felt anger without knowing why? Have you ever overreacted to criticism or rejection? These are clear signs of your shadow manifesting. The problem is that the more we deny this part of ourselves, the more it controls our lives. The shadow is primarily formed in childhood when we seek acceptance and love. For example, if a child learns that expressing sadness makes them appear weak in the eyes of their parents, they may repress that emotion and grow up struggling to deal with feelings. The same happens with desires, talents, or personality traits that were discouraged. Perhaps you were taught that being vulnerable is bad, or that asking for help is a sign of weakness. Without realizing it, you develop a resistance to opening up to others and end up living a life where you hide your pain, even when you need support. But what happens to everything we try to suppress? It doesn't disappear. Instead, it manifests in different ways, such as insecurity, anxiety, or even projection onto others. Projection is one of the most common mechanisms of the shadow. Have you ever criticized someone for being arrogant but, deep down, felt envious of their confidence? Or condemned someone's behavior only to realize that you have acted similarly yourself? This happens because, rather than recognizing certain characteristics within ourselves, we project our internal conflicts onto others. Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." This means that what bothers us most in others is often a reflection of what we struggle to accept in ourselves. Facing our shadow requires courage. It means looking inward and acknowledging that there is anger, fear, jealousy, and selfishness, and that all of these are part of the human experience. But instead of denying these emotions, we can integrate them, understanding what they are trying to teach us. What is your anger trying to show you? Perhaps that you need to set boundaries. What is your envy revealing? That you desire something you haven't yet allowed yourself to pursue. When we stop seeing the shadow as an enemy and start using it as a tool for self-awareness, we become more whole, authentic, and emotionally free. The path of individuation, which Jung spoke about, involves embracing our shadow. This doesn't mean being ruled by it, but rather learning to coexist with this part of ourselves without allowing it to control our lives. And what about you? Have you noticed repetitive patterns in your life that could be signs of your shadow? Share in the comments what resonated with you the most so far. This is an essential step toward real transformation. Healing the emotional wounds inherited from our parents is not a quick process, but it is a necessary journey for anyone who wants to live with authenticity and freedom. The first step is recognizing that this pain exists. Many people go through life ignoring or minimizing their inner wounds, believing that it was just the way my parents raised me, or that everyone goes through this. But denying pain does not make it disappear. On the contrary, it manifests in different ways, such as anxiety, toxic relationships, self-sabotage, and even psychosomatic illnesses. When we accept that we carry marks from the past, we take the first step toward letting them go and creating a new story. Jung said that true healing happens when we become aware of what was once hidden. This means looking within and identifying which emotional patterns are still controlling your life. Do you feel guilty when saying no? Are you afraid of failure because you learned that you only deserve love when you succeed? Or maybe you constantly seek validation because you never truly felt seen by your parents. Each of these issues can be a reflection of an unhealed childhood wound. The problem is not the past itself, but how it continues to shape your choices and emotions in the present. Facing this pain requires a deep dive into your own psyche. One of the most powerful ways to do this is through a dialogue with your inner child, the part of you that still carries these wounds. Close your eyes and imagine yourself as a child. How does this version of you feel? What would they need to hear to feel loved and safe? Maybe it's a simple "you are enough," or "you don't have to prove anything to anyone." This exercise may seem simple, but it is transformative because it allows you to give yourself the love and validation you may never have received. Another essential step is learning to reframe the past. Often, we carry resentment because we see our parents only as authority figures and not as human beings with their own pain and limitations. This does not mean justifying abusive behavior or ignoring the consequences of their actions, but rather understanding that they, too, were shaped by the wounds they inherited. When we can see our story with greater understanding, we remove the weight of suffering and make space for healing. After all, true liberation does not come from forced forgiveness, but from a deep comprehension of what happened and how it affected you. Healing the pain left by our parents is an act of self-love. It is recognizing that, although we did not choose our wounds, we are responsible for our healing. And what about you? Have you identified any emotional patterns or behaviors from your childhood that you might be ready to transform? Share your reflections in the comments. This could be the first step toward your liberation. Healing past wounds is essential, but true transformation comes when you free yourself from them. Many people believe they are doomed to repeat their family's patterns, as if they were prisoners of a story they didn't write. But the truth is that once we become aware of our pain, we gain the power to transform it. You are not obligated to carry the beliefs, fears, and limitations you inherited forever. You can choose who you want to be and create a new narrative for your life. The question is, are you ready to let go of what no longer serves you? Jung spoke about individuation, the process of becoming who we truly are, free from the unconscious influences that govern us. This path is not easy because it requires confronting painful truths and letting go of identities that once gave us security. Perhaps you were taught to always be the strong one in your family, never showing weakness. Or maybe you learned to constantly please others, ignoring your own desires. But do these versions of yourself still make sense? Or are they just layers created to survive in an environment that no longer exists? True liberation happens when we allow ourselves to live without fear of judgment and without the need for approval. This means you can decide which values you want to carry forward and which ones you need to leave behind. If your parents taught you that money is hard to come by, you can reprogram your mindset to believe that abundance is possible. If you grew up hearing that love hurts, you can choose to build healthy and balanced relationships. The point is not to deny the past, but to consciously choose what you want to believe and how you want to live moving forward. It's important to remember that freeing yourself from the past does not mean cutting ties or forgetting your history. It means reframing it. You can maintain love and respect for your family without repeating their patterns. You can honor your journey without letting it define your future. Every choice we make in the present is an opportunity to transform our lives. The key to change lies in your willingness to act differently, to allow yourself to grow beyond what you were taught. Now, I invite you to reflect deeply. What pattern are you ready to let go of today? Could be a fear, a limiting belief, or an automatic behavior that no longer makes sense. Write it in the comments and share your decision to free yourself. When we declare something to the world, we take the first step toward making it a reality. Healing the wounds we inherited and freeing ourselves from the past is not an easy process, but it is undoubtedly one of the most powerful acts of self-love we can undertake. Throughout this video, we explored how the marks left by our parents influence our lives, how the shadow hides deep wounds, and, most importantly, how we can transform this pain into strength. The past has shaped you, but it does not have to define who you will be from now on. The power to change is in your hands. Jung spoke about synchronicity, the signs the universe sends us when we are on the right path. If you made it this far, this video might be exactly the message you needed to hear at this moment. Perhaps it is time to look within with more kindness, recognize your wounds, and begin this healing journey. You are not alone. There is an entire community of people seeking the same transformation, and this path becomes lighter when we share our experiences and insights. Now, I want to hear from you. What was your biggest insight from watching this video? Was there something that touched you in a special way? Something that awakened a new perspective? Write it in the comments. Your reflection might inspire others who are also on this journey. If this content resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This helps me continue bringing deep reflections and content that truly transforms lives. And if you know someone who could benefit from this message, share this video. Small gestures can create big changes. Finally, if you want to dive deeper into this journey of self-knowledge and emotional healing, check out our members area. There, we have exclusive content, guided practices, and a community that will support you in this transformation. The link is in the description. Remember, your story does not have to be a prison. It can be the starting point for your freedom. The choice is yours.